Hi there, in this lesson we'll learn how to use something called aliases for displaying more meaningful column names rather than the table's defaults. Then we'll learn about how to display the results of a query in a more customized format using something called concatenation. And then we'll finally move on to ordering the data based on certain attributes of the table. Now let's get started by querying the employee table. So some of these columns are pretty self-explanatory. We have the job column, we have the hire date column. The rest of the columns are not so self-explanatory. The data being shown in this grid, you can think of it as a report, right? When we run the query, it gives us the data. We're getting a view into the table. Some of the columns that are being printed out in this report are not very meaningful. They're actually pretty confusing. Dept NO, COMM, EMP NO. Now we didn't pick these column names. These column names were decided when the table was created. Okay, and if I need to, for example, send this report to my manager, I'd want the output to be more meaningful, okay, so that it's easier to understand the data. If I didn't tell you that this was an employee table, it would take you a little bit to look through the data and understand exactly what this data is about. So let's say if our manager wanted to see all of the employees and their salaries and commission in the company, you could create a report that selects the e-name, the salary column, and the commission column from EMP, okay? And let me just move this from clause on another line, highlight this and hit run. And notice how confusing this report looks. E-name, sal, com, what are these columns? Let's give these guys more meaningful aliases, okay? So an alias is basically another nickname for the particular attribute. So instead of e-name being printed here, I can have it print employee. All right. For salary, for sal, I can have it print salary. And for commission, COMM, I can spell out the word commission like that from employee. So highlight this and hit run, and notice that the report is much more meaningful. These columns, to anyone that's not familiar with the table, they can quickly understand what this data is about. Now these are employees for sure, but more specifically, these are employee names. So let's change this employee to say employee name, like that. Now if I run it like this is not going to work. Notice what happens. If I run, it's not able to parse this. The reason is that I'm saying e-name should now be printed as employee name, but there's a space here. There's a space here. If I get rid of the space and put an underscore like this so that this entire word is the alias, then it should be fine. All right, notice that it's showing employee underscore name. But let's say I wanted to print this as a compound word. Instead of having this underscore, I wanted it to be read more like English. In that case, I could put quotations around the compound word, employee name, all right? And now it's going to print that with the space here, okay? Notice there's a little space. As well as whatever is in these quotes, it's going to copy that ditto for the column. So instead of having capital, I can have lowercase employee and an uppercase name, and it's going to print that exactly as it is mentioned in these quotes, okay, these double quotes. Now remember, from the comparisons, when we're checking for a particular cell to contain some characters, English words or whatever, for that comparison, those conditions, we need to use single quotes. But for aliases, we use these double quotes, okay? So just a reminder there. Now, for example, for the sal column, I can give it another alias such as income and highlight that and run. It's going to print income, or I could, in quotes, give it a bunch of random gibberish like that. And this will take the place of the header or the column name. See? So whatever goes in these quotes, right, that's going to be copied ditto for the particular column name, all right? Now this syntax that I'm using is Oracle specific, but it works in most databases out there. There's very little difference between SQL in all of the databases. But the standard for SQL, there's a SQL standard. And according to that standard, we're supposed to use the as keyword right before we define the alias. And it's actually easier to read, in my opinion. We're basically saying select ename as this thing right here, right? Comma, select this column as this gibberish right here, COMM as this commission word, all right? And if you highlight that and hit run, that should also work just fine. Now, since we're on the topic of reporting, there are some handy things that we can do with SQL that prints out reader-friendly data. Let's say that I wanted to print a report that read something like this. King makes $5,000 a month. Blake makes $2,850 a month, and so on. Well, we can do this using something called concatenation. Concatenation is basically the combining of two attributes together into a sentence. There's a special operator that's used to concatenate strings together, all right? And it looks like this. It's called pipes, and I'll show you how to apply this to combine strings together. So let's start simple. I'm going to get rid of this, and let's do a bare bones select star from employee so we have all of the data. All right, let's say I want to print out for every single one of these records the sentence, my name is, and then the name of the particular employee. King, my name is Blake, my name is Clark, my name is Jones, and so on for every single one of these records. I can have the ename, and then I need to use something called pipes. There's this key on the keyboard right above the enter key, and if you press that while having shift held down, it's going to give you something called pipes. And what pipes allow you to do is combine sentences or words together, okay? So whatever ename contains, I can combine something before it. So I can, for example, say, hello, my name is, and you can highlight that and hit run, and notice that it's saying exactly that. Hello, my name is space King, my name is Blake, and so on for every single one of those records, all right? Now, I can filter this. I can do where job is equal to manager, like that, and now it'll only consider those employees that are managers. Blake, Clark, Jones, these were the only managers in our company, and we are concatenating this sentence, hello, my name is, with the particular ename. Now, notice that the header is kind of confusing. It's basically taking this entire expression and clubbing that together and then dumping that in to be the column name for this report. But the reality is this is not very user-friendly to look at. We can give it an alias. Let me move the from on the second line there. And I can use the as keyword, and it can also be lowercase, of course, because SQL is case insensitive. So as, and now we need double quotes for a compound word, concatenated value. All right, highlight that and hit run, and notice that the header is a lot more reader-friendly. So looking back at this requirement, why don't you try this out? Create this type of report where it's giving the salary as well as the employee name and creating this sentence. And you're going to need to use more than one pipes. Okay, so right now, this particular pipe expression, this is one pipe expression. You're going to need to use probably a couple more of these. And remember that you can have this pipe before the column name as well as after the column name in the situation that you want some sentence or some word following the data that's in the particular cell. All right, so give this a try, and then when you're done, you can resume to watch my solution. All right, welcome back. Hopefully that wasn't too difficult. So let's do a quick select star from emp, and we get all of the data. All 14 records should be shown in your report with the requirement. So I'm going to start by concatenating the ename, select ename, and then we need the two pipe symbols, and then we need the open quotation, a single quote, and then write the word makes. And then we need the closing single quote, followed by another set of pipes to concatenate the rest of the terms that are about to follow. Now we need to combine, instead of some word like this, we need to actually reference a column, and that is the salary column. So we could do sal, and then we put the pipes again, and then we need the statement that says per month, like that, from emp. Now notice that I'm using these spaces here before this series of characters. This space is important. If I don't leave this space, the number that's in the salary is going to be clubbed right into the word, and that's not as reader friendly. Same thing with this. At the end of makes, we have this little space here. As a matter of fact, we're going to need a space in the beginning of makes as well. So let's highlight this and run and see what we get. And notice it's saying King makes $5,000 per month, Blake makes $28.50 per month, and so on. Now, it would be nice to have that dollar sign, right? We need the dollar sign for this salary. So we can either add that right here, right at the end of makes, and that will basically put the dollar right next to the number, or we can have another pipe and put this dollar sign in a new set of quotations, but I think this is much easier. So let's highlight that and hit run, and notice that now it's showing me the dollar signs. And we should give this an alias because this is not very reader friendly. So we can do as, and then I'll put double quotes because this is going to be a compound word, and I'm just going to write amount employee makes per month. All right, and hit run again, and notice that, whoops, is the identifier too long. So you can't have an alias that is too long. This is sort of like, this is like 5-6 words here, and there's just not that much room in the output of the report. So I could just write employee income, like that. It doesn't really matter. I just didn't want that gibberish to show up in the column name. So hit run, and notice that it's showing me employee income with all of the data. All right, so I just cleared the workspace here. We're going to go over the next concept, and that is order by. Order by is a special clause in SQL that's used to sort the data based on a particular column. So let's do a select ename and select sal from the emp table, and let's hit run. So we just get these two columns. Let's order by the ename column. And when we do the order by clause, it's basically going to sort all of this data alphabetically because these are English words, right? So it's going to order this alphabetically. If I was to do order on the sal column, these are numerical data. So it's going to numerically sort this from 0 to whatever the max number is. So let's see if we have any A's and B's. I know we have a Blake, we have a Clark, we have some Adam, we have Alan. So when I sort based on this ename column, Alan and Adam are going to show up on the top, and words like names like Ward and Turner, they're going to show up all the way at the bottom. Okay, with their respective salaries. All right. King makes $5,000, Blake makes $2,850. This data that's associated is not going to change. Newcomers to this language sometimes get confused when they're sorting on a particular column. They think that only that particular column is sorted, but no, it's the entire record gets placed in the proper position from top to bottom. Okay, so let's do an order by the ename column. And hit run, and notice that we have Adams, Allen, Blake, Clark, Ford. This is showing alphabetically all of the data. And when I do a select star to show all of the columns for every record, then it will show me the entire record, but still ordered by the ename. So let's hit run, and notice that Adams, Allen, Blake, Clark, Ford, James, Jones. This is all ordered alphabetically by the ename column, and their respective data is still intact. Now let's try ordering by the salary. Okay, so let's do select star from emp, order by SAL, sal, and hit run. And notice that the lowest salary is being shown on the top, followed by the ascending salaries here. We should expect King to be all the way at the bottom, and here he is. Okay, he makes the most amount of money, so that's all the way at the bottom. So the data is being sorted ascending from smallest to largest by default. Okay, I can change the default by adding the keyword DESC, and this is going to order descending, meaning largest to smallest. We're descending to the smaller number, so it's going to put the large number on the top and descend towards this record Smith, which will show up on the bottom when I run this. Okay, so let's highlight this and hit run, and notice King, he makes the most amount of money, and then we're descending into smaller numbers here, and this record ends up being at the bottom when we're sorting by salary in the descending mode. Okay, and if I remove this, it's going to by default sort by the ascending mode, and there's a special keyword for that. If I want to be more explicit, I can put ASC, and this is what happens by default. It sorts ascending from smallest to largest. Okay, now I can also sort by multiple columns. Let's go over another example. Select department, NO, department number, SAL, and ename from emp, and let's just run that to see what the data looks like, and it's just going to give me these three columns: department number, salary, ename. There's no order to this as of yet. I haven't put the order by clause, so the data is just showing as is from the table. Now if I add the order by dept NO, hit run, it's going to sort by this column department number ascending, and all of the 10s are first, and then followed by all of the records that have department 20, and then all of the records that have department 30. Okay, so it's sorting based on this particular column. Now I can add another column to sort by. Let's sort by salary. Notice that for department number 10, the salaries are in no particular order, right? They're sort of random. Same thing with department 20. All of these records with department number 20, they're just the salaries are in no particular order. Okay, so when I add this sal here to also be in the order by clause, what it's going to do is going to first sort this department number, which it already is doing. Then it's going to put the records that have the lower salaries in this department number record first. Okay, and the ones that are higher are going to be towards the bottom for that particular department number. So let's hit run, and notice that we still have 10 on the top, of course, but the salaries are sorted now. Okay, 1,300, 2,450, 5,000. And for department 20, this particular group, all of the salaries starting from 800 down to 3,000 are also sorted. And then finally, for all of the department 30s, this group, all of the salaries are also sorted. Okay, and this is happening to the entire record. So if I do a select star and hit run, the entire record is being placed in the proper position based on these two particular columns. We're ordering by department number first. So the department numbers that are 10, those records are going to be bumped to the top. And then the ones that are that have higher department numbers, those are going to end up being on the bottom, of course. And then the salary, after that's done, the salary is going to be the records within this group that have a lower salary are going to be on the towards the top, and the records in this group that have a salary that's higher are going to be towards the bottom of that particular group. Okay, so play around with this, write your own queries, and experiment with the order by clause using ascending as well as descending, so you understand how the data changes. In the next lesson, we're going to talk a little bit more about ordering, and then we're going to jump into practice problems. So make sure to stay tuned, and I'll see you soon.